Hello and good afternoon. That's my Matthew. That's my grand dog. I love Matthew. Grandmommy gets to be with Matthew this weekend. Is he so adorable? So today I want to talk about inner being, how to deepen your relationship with inner being, how I have deepened my relationship with inner being, and how I really am embodying, strengthening my awareness of the job of my inner being, and how I'm leaning into inner being to really improve the quality of my life, to really bring in more peace, more balance, more joy, more abundance, more certainty, more confidence. Like, woo, the inner being. I am dazzled. So what brought me on this deep journey? Well, I've known about the inner being like since 2004 or something. I think I discovered Abraham Hicks 2004, 2005. And Abraham teaches us we all have an inner being. Bashar teaches us you have a higher mind. That the formula, follow your highest excitement, inner being brings you to the vortex. So what I didn't know is last year at Abraham Hicks, I was at a live event, and Abraham Hicks said, first time we're ever sharing this, but your inner being has an inner being. What? Your inner being has an inner being. Now that didn't make any sense to me. So I started like, how can that be true? And what I realized is I had defined inner being, like my definition of inner being was actually inaccurate. So what is your definition of inner being? Doesn't that seem like it would be like something that I would have clarity on? So to think that I've been a law of attraction seeker or student or awareness of law of attraction since 2005, and my definition of inner being was inaccurate. That's kind of like mind-blowing, isn't it? It's cool like that I can have the awareness and I can shift and morph once I get greater clarity. So the mistake I made, and it's not a mistake, but the misunderstanding I had is that I thought inner being was God. So I thought my inner being is that aspect of God, right? That it's God, it's source, it's infinite intelligence. That's what my inner being is. So when Abraham Hicks said your inner being has an inner being, that like totally confused me. So in my deep research and detective work, trying to communicate with people, ask people, like do a deep dive into inner being, what I've really come to understand on a whole new level that's really supporting me in my day-to-day life, that's really practical for my, it's so practical for my reality to make my life better, easier, is I'm understanding that before I chose to incarnate into this planet, polarity planet, right? We are all on a polarity planet, a duality planet, a planet of right, wrong, good, bad. That is this frequency of this planet. Before we decided to incarnate, we knew on a soul level, like why we wanted to incarnate, what we were looking to experience. Everything wasn't like predetermined, like it has to go a certain way because we have free will. And we also had ideas. We had like an intelligent like plan of what we wanted to experience. So we all come in with different themes, different like ideas of how we want to play, like what we want to experience, the different kinds of rides we want to have in this human incarnation. So before we incarnate, we know we're agreeing to go incarnate into a duality planet, a polarity planet, a separation planet, and we knew the great forgetting would happen. We knew that we'd go into separation and we'd forget the truth of who we really are. We'd forget that we are connected to infinite intelligence. We are connected to our God source. We are connected to all that is. We are connected to sovereignty, to abundance, to all of the things. And so in order to help us navigate this reality, we created that we would come in with our inner being, the aspect of us, the aspect of our soul, our spirit, that would not forget, that would have not even 1 nanosecond of forgetting. Our inner being cannot have 1 nanosecond of the experience of separation. So inner being always 24/7, right? Always, across all timelines, all dimensions, our inner being always knows the truth of who we are. Our inner being knows the truth. Not only knows the truth of who we are, also knows the blueprint or the plan on why we chose to incarnate, what experience we wanted to have in this reality. And so as humans, a lot of times in the separation program, we separate ourselves from our inner being, and we care more about what the other people in the room think. We care more about pleasing family members or partners or children or coworkers, whomever, like the public, whomever, but we give more power to outside people and what they think of us. And we start making our choices based on outside conditions that don't know why we incarnated. No one knows why you incarnated but your inner being. So I've been working on a book. You can get it at sabrinabrightstar.com. It's Inner Being, Deepen Your Relationship. The only voice that matters is the one within. And so it really, like, anchoring that in, really understanding that the only voice that matters is the one that in, helps me calibrate to me, helps me like stop that monkey noise, like stops that like caring about the opinions of others, caring about the, how others are interpreting or how others are perceiving or how others are projecting. None of that is, and none of my business. My relationship, the only voice that matters, is between me and my inner being. And as I'm like remembering, like, oh my gosh, like I am always 24/7 totally connected to my inner being, and my inner being is orchestrating rendezvous with other inner beings. Like, because this is what's really getting exciting for me. So now that I understand that my inner being has an inner being, like it adds to the volume, or it adds electricity, or it adds force. It like not force in a control way, but adds like like volume. Like it adds. It just adds like so much more like frequency, so much more dynamite, for example. Like there's so much more electrical currents that are working on my behalf, way more than I ever realized, way more than my imagination has even been able to perceive. So, and the other thing I've learned is inner being. Like I have an amazing imagination. My imagination is phenomenal. Like that's why like things are easy for me, right? Connecting is really easy for me. Creating is really easy for me. I've got like one of the best imaginations ever. And what I'm realizing, what I've been learning is inner being, like my imagination can't hold inner being. Inner being is so much more, just so much bigger, broader, wider, deeper, like so much more of a masterpiece than what my imagination can even perceive. So like, oh my gosh, so that, talk about wanting to go into the portals of open-ended questions. I'm in love with the portal of open-ended questions. I'm in love with like, okay, what questions would inner being help me come up with that can totally expand me, so I can expand my imagination in ways that it didn't even occur to me to ask to have an expanded, broader imagination. Those questions hadn't even entered into my field, but the fact that they're entering into my field now, right? I'm getting so much proof and evidence that my consciousness is expanding, that my inner being is collaborating, co-creating, orchestrating, designing, right? Talk about the best architect ever, talk about the best party planner ever, talk about the best interior designer ever. Like, our inner beings are working with all these other inner beings for you to create these knock your socks off kind of experiences. That's what Abraham calls them, knock your socks off kind of experiences. That's because our inner being loves to surprise and delight us. Our inner being loves it when we are like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And your inner being wants to show off for you. Let me say that again. Your inner being wants to show off for you. Are you catching it? Are you witnessing it? See, often we miss and dismiss what our inner being's trying to do. Often we're just like so in our like patterns, we miss and dismiss all of this magic, these miracles. And magic and miracles should just be normal, right? Like, what our inner being can actually do for us that we think is so knock your socks off, Abraham says that's child's play. That's so like basic beginner type stuff. Like, we think like, oh my gosh, I just had this huge like blow my mind, like, wow, like this is like so intense, this is such a masterpiece, this is such a magical creation, I can't even imagine. And Abraham is telling us like, no, that's just the very, very beginning. Start playing with your inner being. Start catching all the things your inner being is doing for you to create these knock your sock off kind of experiences to dazzle and delight you. If your inner being's job is to totally point you in the direction of the truth of who you are, totally here to dazzle you, to entertain you, to make you laugh your ass off, because it's like your inner being is a comedian. Your inner being is like the best entertainment ever. Your inner being is the best party planner ever. Your inner being like wants to hold so many different roles for you to make the quality of your life get better and better and better and better and better. And so many of us have spent so much time in the disconnection, in the separation. But the separation was just supposed to launch us into the alignment. The separation was just supposed to be a small, like, okay, separation, now launch into alignment and have like hours and hours and hours of magical connection from alignment. Okay, then you hit separation again. Okay, moment of separation. What for? Oh, for thousands of hours of alignment again. But we've got it so backwards. We spend, most of us, in our separation and in our forgetfulness, in our not remembering the truth of who we are, we spend so much time in the separation program. We've got so much data streaming in the separation. But we can flip that. Or we can have the awareness that, no, this movie is supposed to have 99% of the movie in the alignment part, in the magic part, in the rendezvous, in the knock your socks off, in the, like, how does it get better? It keeps getting better. And oh my gosh, I can't believe it's this good. And that's just the very beginning. You're just at the very beginning stages of seeing how great it can really, really be. Doesn't that feel so good? Just to even have that awareness. Like, yeah, separation, it was just to find out what you don't want, so then you can go and play with what you do want. You can go spend the majority of your time in what you do want and what does light you up and what makes you so happy, with what makes your heart sing, what raises your vibration. And then you're high and you think you're like, oh my gosh, I hit the ceiling, I hit the cap on how high it can go. Nope, child's play. You haven't even begun to hit the cap on how high you can go. Like this high, this like amazing feel-good chemical release of endorphins that happen in your brain and in your body. Like, we're just at the beginning phases of it. Isn't that amazing? Your inner being. So feel free to look at my work about your inner being. The only voice that matters is the one within. You can get it at Amazon, or you can go to my website. It's sabrinabrightstar.com. It's just a super fun short ebook that you can enjoy. So what are you and your inner being going to do today? Maybe you and your inner being are rendezvousing with my inner being, and maybe we're going to be co-creating, collaborating. Maybe something's going to happen and we're going to reflect back on this moment and like, oh, at that moment, like, oh, a new play date encountered, that's the wrong word, a new play date got created as a result of that conversation, that listening, that now moment. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. So from Matthew and I, we say, see you later, alligator.